All right. Hello, everyone. We are live.
Yeah, we are live now. Hopefully you guys can hear and see us okay. Tell us in the live chat if you can
If
hear us
there
and see us.
yes, make sure to mention if there's like weird technical issues because um, this is technology, so there are always weird technical issues. But
Yes.
we are excited to have you here today.
Yeah, hold on, let me see. Hold on. Okay. So hopefully you guys can hear us and see us. Um, but wait, you can't see me? You can see Journey, but you can't see me.
Okay.
Darn. That makes no sense. I will. Um, I shall remove myself from this
And then
studio. And
put yourself back in, and
yes,
we'll see. Hopefully that will work.
yes. All right. Well, you shall kick me out of the studio, and
It's not
back
working.
in and see if this thing works. All right. Oh,
Yes. Oh
oh,
wait,
you.
are we good? Are we good? Okay.
Yay! Awesome.
All
All
right.
right, guys.
All right.
Hi. So welcome to our first ever live virtual author event. Like, I'm so excited to have you guys here.
Yeah, me too. Today we're going to be talking about reading and writing and how the two sort of interconnect, and we're going to be talking about writing processes and all sorts of fun things. So we are really excited to have you all here today. Isabelle, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to get us started here?
Yeah, all right, Journey. Thank you so much for introducing the event. As she said, we are going to be doing a bunch of fun, writerly, readerly, chaotic stuff. Um, yeah, and we'll also talk about the magic of reading and writing and all that. And yeah, so my name is Isabelle Knight. I am the middle grade fantasy author of the Enchantria series. That is a not for resale band because this is my proof copy. I do not have my author copy, but yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I am Journey Bloomfield. I am a young adult fantasy author. I have several novels I've been working on, one that I'm going to start querying for soon, but I do have one story published in the Once Upon a Time anthology by Owl Hollow Press. And also, I have two stories in Isabelle's wonderful Christmas anthology, which you can find on her Amazon page. So, yeah, me.
yeah, so guys, we shall give everyone a bit of time to show up. Guys, feel free to share like where you're tuning in from, if you are a writer, what projects you're currently working on right now.
Or what books you're reading and loving,
Yeah.
or maybe not loving,
Yeah,
as the case may
true.
have. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, so while we give some people like time to show up, Journey, why don't you introduce what you're working on right now?
all right, yeah. So I am working on, as I said, querying for my young adult fantasy novel, The Aldray and I'm also working on writing two projects. Well, two main projects, because I can never just work on one thing at a time. And one of them is a sequel to a duology I was writing about which is about sea monsters and magic and adventure, and also redefining oneself after loss. And then I am also writing a villain origin story for a fantasy trilogy or whatever that I'm eventually going to write, which has been fun. How about you? What are you working on? Have any projects you want to share?
Yeah, thank you so much. So, like you, I am sort of working on like a villain origin story, and I am working on book 4 of the Enchantria series. I am currently working on totally rewriting it and also delving a little bit into Ravenna's past and also Arabella's past, apparently,
Ooh,
as I just found out today.
that is
Yeah,
exciting. I am
yeah,
excited.
yeah. It's been super interesting to be writing this because, well, it's kind of the finale,
Yeah,
probably, of the book
sure.
series, and it is scary.
Yeah. I mean,
Just,
dealing with endings is hard.
yeah,
I
yeah,
agree.
yeah. And so let me see. We have a bunch of people here now. Hi, Leah. I'm so glad you're here. B is here. There's also Abby. And all right. Abby is tuning in from Jupiter, Florida. I think FL stands for Florida, right?
Yes, Florida, not the planet. I don't know if there would be good internet reception there enough to see this on the actual
Yes.
planet of Jupiter.
Yes. But it would be very cool to have people tuning in from Jupiter as a
Yes,
planet.
I would be surprised. But so yeah, you want to get started with? We could talk about some reading stuff because
All right. Let me dig out some of my notes. Okay, I'm sorry, my tablet's being a bit chaotic right now. But all right, Journey. Why don't you start us off?
yeah. So reading has always been a very important part of my life, even like from when I was a very small child when I learned to read, and I feel like it's really sort of shaped my writing, of course, and also
Yeah.
myself as a person, sort of. Um, so when we were young, when we still lived in a actual house instead of now, we travel full time, so we live in our travel trailer, which but when we lived in an actual house, we would go to the library every week, every Friday. It didn't matter if it was raining or hailing or sleeting so hard you couldn't see the road. We would be at that library, and we would get these giant stacks of books and bring them home, and then spend the whole rest of the day reading. We did not pace ourselves at all. Um, so then we had to reread them the entire rest of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, like I definitely get like not pacing yourself because I got an amazing book recently. I would show you, but it's at the very bottom of my pile of books beside me. And my mom suggested that I pace myself. I did not pace myself at all. I finished it in one day.
Yes, I do the same thing. I have stopped trying, honestly. I'm just like, okay, well, I know I'm just gonna stay up super late, read this book, and finish it in like 2 days. So, you know,
Yeah,
I'm fine with that now, I suppose.
yeah, yeah. So, yeah, yeah. So, like, reading has definitely been very important to me as a child. Okay, sorry, someone just nearly came in. But yes, reading has definitely been something that is super important to me. Um, you know what? I will just admit this and say that when I was younger, I was not an avid reader at all. Yeah. Like when I was younger, I was probably the type of kid who would much rather just binge watch sitcoms on Disney Plus than read a book. I do not know how many of you started out as, well, not so avid readers, but that is how I started out. And yeah. And like I when I was younger, I did not really like reading that much. if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of kids nowadays like that, but yeah. And it wasn't until like a certain point in my life where, well, honestly, I'm not even sure what happened. All I know is that my parents refused to let me watch the movie version of a certain book, and they bought me the book series instead. And like, I just became obsessed with that book series. And like, the book series I'm talking about is the Percy Jackson series by Rick Riordan. This is my very banged up copy. Um yeah, and ever since then, like, reading has just been so important to me, I guess. Like, ever since then, I always loved diving into a book. Like, while I was reading the Percy Jackson series, I just kept wanting to read more. Like, I just stayed up late, up until 3 a.m. reading under the covers just so I could get
That's
onto the next book. Yeah, and find out what would happen to Percy and his friends, what other Greek monsters they would have to meet and battle and fight next. And
mm-hmm.
I don't know, something about the ways that like the world was so carefully built. The characters were crafted in ways that made them feel so real, that just made me feel like I was slipping into a totally different world when I was reading it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is a thing. Like when you're reading, it's like you're in this other place, in this other world now. I mean,
Yeah.
with a good book that really transports you. And I
Yeah.
think that is part of the reason. I mean, when you go to a book and bookstore and you buy a book, you're buying an experience because
Yeah.
you know that when you get this book, you are going to get to experience a scenario in someone else's life, pretty much. And I think
Yeah.
that is part of the thing about reading that is so enticing for a lot of
Yeah.
people.
Yeah, that is definitely like super true. When I started out, I never thought about reading that way, but like all I knew was that I was reading a book and I was just enjoying myself. And
Mm-hmm.
but like I think as I gradually became more of a reader, I guess, um I just started realizing things, I guess, and a bunch of like the themes and the morals from all of those books like just seeped into me, I guess. Like, I don't know, but like as I read more, like as you said, I got to experience, I don't know, a different life, I guess. I got to step
Mm-hmm.
into someone else's shoes, to know what it was like to be them. And I think that for me was just super important. And like a bunch of these books, they like carried lots of important lessons, I guess. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, like, yeah, I don't know if the authors intended to put them in there, because oftentimes I find that themes will just slip into my book
Yeah.
whether I intend them to or not.
Yeah, and then when you're reading back through, you're like, oh, I see. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah. And like, while I read, I just sort of gradually picked up on all of those, I guess. Okay, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
really sure how to describe this, but basically, a lot of the books I read were just like they had all of these themes, like themes of courage, of hope and kindness, and all that. And I think a lot of that really just shaped my childhood, I guess. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like I'm not sure what else to say about that. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but
I get it though. Um, so
yeah.
yeah, if any of you want to share in the comments
Yeah.
favorite books and what you loved about them, then feel free. and we can do that.
Yeah, and hold on, I am going to scroll through the comments a bit. So, yay! So, we have some people who enjoy the Percy Jackson series, and that is great. This is an amazing book series. I love this series.
It's quite fun.
Yeah, and V says, you get to leave home and never worry about passports. That is very true. Definitely very true. I have through books. I have managed to visit France, the U.S. Let me think. Hong Kong, England. Yes. Well, technically not. 1850s England, all without a passport, which is very great.
And, my family just got passports, and it is a pain. So definitely handy.
Yeah, like that is definitely, as you said, very handy. Yeah, so Journey, would you like to share like some of your favorite books, I guess?
Yeah, here, I have some of them here. So one of them that really inspired my writing a lot was this book, which is called If the Magic Fits by Susan Maupin Schmidt. I really hope I'm saying her name right. But this book, my aunt gifted it to me when I was probably about 7 or 8, and I just really loved it because, for various reasons, there were magic dresses and magic birds and dragons and all sorts of fun things. And so actually the first book that I seriously pursued writing was pretty much a ripoff of this book. But I was like probably about 8 or 9 when I started it, or maybe 10, and I was like, well, I can't rip it off all the way, I can't copy everything. So I just changed it like enough that it was different, because instead of living in a castle, the girl is like a servant in a mansion, which is pretty much a castle, except it's not. It's a mansion. And instead of like dragons on the roof, there's a single dragon in the basement, which I wrote because I wanted to describe how its eye looked. And I thought, well, there's this unmarked door that I never really explained. We'll just stick a dragon behind it. It'll be great.
Yeah, that sounds like me when I write. And yeah, that is definitely like interesting. And I think the first book I actually pursued writing, and yes, it is published, started out as a ripoff of another series and some elements of that series may be kind of apparent in the book, so I'm not going to share which series I stole it from, because it's kind of the thing where like you're reading and what I stole is very well disguised, so you will not immediately recognize it. But once you know where I stole it from, it gets kind of apparent.
You cannot unsee it. Yes. Do not reveal my secrets.
Yeah, but like, reading has definitely like shaped my childhood a lot. I'm just scrolling through the notes a bit because we do need notes to stop us from just rambling
on into eternity, because we do that.
Yeah, we do that a lot. Imitation is the best flattery, V says.
That is true.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I feel like a lot of starting out writing, you do really, and that's okay. Like, if you copy elements, or as long as you like put your own spin on it and don't just totally try to recreate the same thing, then it's fine. Even if you do just for practice, I think that is fine too.
Yeah, like I think that is definitely like an important way that reading can really like shape your writing, because like as you read, like you get to like just see how, well, I'm not sure how to describe it, but like just see how other people write their books. You can see like how they create their worlds. You can see
Right.
what character how they create their characters. And
Mm-hmm.
once you get a sort of sense of what you like to read, you also get a sense of what you like to write.
Yeah, I think that is a thing.
Yeah.
Because and also reading books is very important for authors too and writers, because when I was first starting out, I didn't know anything about writing. I'd never read any writing books. I just
Yeah.
started writing, and even though I knew nothing about it, I had read so many books that I still got certain things right, even though I didn't really know I
Yeah.
was doing it. It's just like a sort of instinctive thing that I was instinctively doing these certain things that I read in other books. So I feel like that
Yeah.
was very helpful part, is to read other books and read them as a writer too. I do
Yeah.
this. It's actually kind of hard for me now not to read as a writer. Sometimes I'm like, well, can I stop rewriting these sentences in my head? Like, I just want
I
to read.
know. Exactly. Like I keep picking up a book and now I don't know, this doesn't happen all the time. I try not to let this happen all the time, but it happens sometimes, and I'm just sitting there reading a book and thinking like, "Oh, well, I would have done the plot twist this way," or I feel like the character could have changed. Okay, I feel like the character could have been written a
Right.
different way.
I know. I do the
And
same, and
yeah, and
and then I find myself just rewriting these sentences in my head, and I have to tell myself to stop.
exactly.
This
It's just kind
is
of like
fine.
I I just want to read a book right now. And instead my mind is just
I
spiraling
know.
and sort of
I
like,
tell myself like, the sentence is fine how it is. It's
yeah,
fine this way. Just let it be that
yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So would you like to share like what you think are the best parts about reading?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things, I think I mentioned this earlier, but one of the things I really love about reading is like the levels of understanding you can get from it. Because I mean, it is a lot. Fiction is fake people in fake worlds, but I feel like fiction is really truths within fiction, because there
Yeah.
is like untrue things, but underneath them there is truth there. And I feel like that is
Yeah.
important. And also, just the ability to live through someone else's perspective, or even through multiple people's perspective, and see different things different ways, is very valuable, I think. And it's one of my favorite things to do as an author, too, is show different sides of problems, so to speak.
Yeah.
Show like people's different opinions on things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think that is also like one for me one of the best parts about reading. Like, aside from all of the other things I've mentioned before, and like, yeah, like I think what you said is definitely very true. Like, there is truth in fiction, and I'm trying to think of how to phrase this, but um yeah, and I think another thing I love about fiction is also that, um, as I've said, you get to experience lots of different things. And, like, for example, when I am reading Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, um, I get to I get to experience a bunch of different things, like battling Greek monsters, nearly getting killed, um, without like,
Actually, endangering your life.
yes, exactly, like, yeah. So
Yes,
like, if you like, yeah, if you want to know what a thrilling adventure is like, pick up a book, and you will not have to endanger your own life.
Yeah, that is convenient because there's a lot of things that I love reading about that I would never actually want to do because I do not want to be stabbed with a sword while dueling someone. I mean, I
Yeah.
do actually
Yeah.
duel my brothers with practice katanas, but they are not sharp. So
Yeah, and like for me, there's another thing I love about reading, and I might have mentioned this before, but it's basically like um all of the important lessons that fiction has, because like even if you are reading fiction, like maybe a fantasy novel, and it's in this world where there's magic and all that that doesn't really exist in the real world, and it's, well, fiction, but deep beneath that there is truth, and there are all these like universal themes, I guess.
right.
Like themes about things like kindness, courage, creativity, and hope, and all that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and another thing is that, well, I also think that because reading lets you take a step into someone else's shoes, like it can also help create empathy, I guess.
Yeah.
Because like when you read a good book, once you know what it's like to be someone totally different than you, then like I don't know, I guess in a way it can like help us understand other people.
Right.
Yeah, because like you're basically like reading, I guess, someone else's story. And
Mhm.
this might sound very random, but like, I don't know, a lot of things I have heard people say is that like we are made of our own stories. I don't know if this confuses you guys or not, but yeah, I've definitely heard this said. I think Tay Keller said that. I think maybe. But yeah, I think I definitely do agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've been talking for a while now, so we should. So if anyone, also I completely forgot to mention this in the start because we had some technical issues, which at least we got them out of the way. So that's fine. But I we are going to have a live Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions, we will be
Yes.
answering them. And
Yes.
yes, and we will also be sending you off with a bit of a fun little writing challenge that Isabelle and I came up with. So
Yeah.
that should be fun.
Yeah. 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 I was just thinking the same thing because, like, we forgot to tell people about that. But, yes, if you guys have any questions, you can put them in the live chat now, and I will save them because apparently you can do that, and we will get back to them
At
at
the end.
the end during the live Q&A.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and now we should get back to talking about reading since we are sort of sidetracked. But yes,
Yeah, and
yeah,
I really do. I mean, I could write reading and writing are one of the things I can talk about for a very long time, and I can really get into things. So, are you reading anything right now? And would you like to share that, like what you're reading currently?
ooh, oh yes, definitely. Okay, let me see. Okay, sadly, I cannot pull up my books on my tablet right now. But right now, I am reading a middle grade murder mystery
Ooh,
series called Murder Most Unladylike.
I think
I
I've
don't know
heard
this
of that
movie on it.
actually.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's definitely a good book, and book 6, I think, actually takes place in Hong Kong. So,
Ooh.
yeah, and there's sort of aspects of like sort of Chinese culture, like sort of, not
Mm-hmm.
exactly, since it's set probably in the 1900s or something, or 1800s, or possibly 1700s.
Yeah, but that is fun.
Yeah.
I
So
actually I actually just finished reading Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which I had never read before, and because for some reason I started with all of Brandon Sanderson's most obscure books, and now I'm like working my way towards his better known ones. And I actually really liked Mistborn. It had like one of the coolest, most well thought out magic systems I've seen in a very long time, and I am obsessed at this point. And I am currently reading the new Hunger Games prequel book, which is fun. I admit I was not a huge fan of her other prequel, but I am liking this one, so I'm glad that I'm reading it because I am enjoying that.
yeah, like let me see. I think it's called Sunrise on the Reaping, right?
Yeah, it is. That is what it's called.
Yeah. Well, someday when I am older, I hope to read that. I have read the Hunger Games series before, and I think it's definitely a book that has definitely like left an impression on me. Like, and yeah, that's the sort of thing because like books can really do that. Like, I don't know, like a lot of the times you will read a story and like I don't know, something about it will like make a huge impression on you.
Right.
Like yeah, like maybe it's the themes, the lessons, like I guess the sort of truth hidden in it. And also a lot of the times they don't have to have like these kind of epic
Yeah.
morals or something. Sometimes like it can just be a good book that you enjoy
Yeah.
and
There are
yeah.
a lot of books that have stuck with me
Yeah.
over the years. Um, including this book, which is one of the books that is just very strange.
Oh.
And it doesn't really make a lot of sense, which is part of the reason I liked it so much because and then the kid like just goes into he like gets this big pot and then just mixes like all the random like gook in his house, like shampoo and cow feed and all sorts of random stuff in a big pot. And I always wanted to do that in my house afterwards, but my mother never let me raid everything and pour it into a pot. And also, I think if anyone actually ate that, they would probably not survive it. So probably best, but I always did think that was fun.
Yeah. Like one of the books that made a huge impression on me was, let me see. Oh, I have a lot. I have so many.
Me too. I have this whole stack over here.
I have a huge stack too. I can't pull them up because if I did put them up, they would topple onto the floor and I would be drowning in books. But yes, so like one of the books that made a huge impression on me was Ella Enchanted by Gail Carson Levine. If you guys know me, you will know that that is one of my favorite books of all time. And, you know, when I was a kid, I didn't really like read for any morals or lessons, I guess. I just read because I liked reading, and there was just something about the world, like Ella's world, and the ogres, and the fairies, and Ella's obedience curse, and something about that fantasy just really drew me in, and the world itself just felt so real. So, yeah, that is
Yeah,
definitely one of the books that
that
has
is
left a huge impression on me.
a good book. And one I wish I would have read sooner. I had heard a lot about it. I used to do this. Like I would hear a lot about a book, and there would be no good reason for me not to read it. I just like wouldn't until later, and then I wish I would have read it earlier because then I could have been obsessing about it this whole time.
Yeah, like, has that ever happened to you guys? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, so, yeah, and there's also another book that left a huge impression on me, and this book actually does have a sort of moral, but I shall go and get that book. All right. So another book that left a huge impression on me was this book, When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller. I have threatened people to read this because
Including
this is
me.
just yes. But like this is just such an incredible book. I don't know, I really loved it because there was something about Tay Keller's writings that drew me in, but also like it was the magic. And now like this book is not like full on fantasy. It is, I guess, it takes place in the real world, but there are magical elements from Korean mythology, such as
Mm-hmm.
like this Korean tiger that you will see right here. But the magic I'm talking about isn't quite like the fairy tale magic where you wave your wand and, I don't know, turn someone into a toad or something. I don't know. But like, it's the kind of magic that I guess books have, the kind of
Yeah,
magic that books can really show you. And it's a little hard to describe, but
it
I
is.
guess
But
it's kind of like the truth that
if
Journey
y'all are
talked about.
if y'all are readers, then I think you know what we mean.
Yeah, like the book, like these kinds of books just really like show us something. Like they show us like, I guess, the
What it is.
truth about the world, I guess.
Yes, and what
And
it is to live in this world. Even though
yeah,
sometimes characters live in other worlds.
yeah, and just yeah. I'm trying to think of words to describe this right now, but my brain is failing me. It is late at night over here. But my brain is failing me to so yes, I'm afraid I cannot think of words to describe this, but I think like the kind of truths that Tay Keller really shows us in this novel is, I guess, kind of like what stories mean. And there are a bunch of different books with a bunch of different themes and all that. But in this book, I think that is what this book is really about. And it just really shows us what stories mean, what stories really are, and also what it means to really heal. And I think that is one of the most important and amazing parts about reading and writing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And writing is also you can capture some of that in your own work, which is also quite fun to try to do that in your own writing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Also, I would also say like don't try and push morals too
yeah,
hard, but also like don't worry if you don't think your story has this amazing moral or theme,
yeah. I mean,
because stories do not have to be that way. I mean, like your story doesn't need to have this big important epic heroic theme or moral. It can just be like a story that people just enjoy reading.
yeah, because that's the thing too. I mean, if you are writing a book to bring enjoyment to people and make them laugh or smile, then that is good too. That is also important, and you shouldn't discount
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. Like also like I think when you are writing, you oftentimes don't have to push too hard to find the morals. I mean, like if you think your story does have a morals, then I guess a lot of the times you will need to dig a bit deeper into your story, but like you don't need to worry too much if you don't really see this huge moral or theme right now, because like for me at least, when I write, oftentimes I guess the themes just make their way into my writing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, And I feel like it's best if they sort of come naturally. I feel like if you try to push it too much, then it feels a little forced.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're trying to force a moral onto someone, I would say that's when they're most likely to disregard that, because I am the kind of person who, if you try and force me to do something, well, normally I might have done that thing, but now that you're forcing me to do that, I will not do that. I don't know,
Me
it's
too.
weird, I know. But
Especially if it's
yes.
my brothers asking. No, I'm just kidding. Sort of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, how do you go about your writing process? I mean, do you start with sort of an outline, or do you just sort of go for it, or how do you approach that starting out?
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on a sec. Okay. I was checking notes. Okay, perhaps I should stop checking notes so often. Yes, but the answer to your question is, well, it really depends on the book, and it really depends on the story. You guys feel free to share your own writing process. We shall read over your answers in a second. But for me, as I've said, it really depends on the story, because not all stories are the same. Like, some stories are going to be super complicated, and others, like, I just start out with a simple idea, and I will just go wherever it takes me. And yeah, but normally I would say I am a pantser, and like, if you do not know what a pantser is, like, it's like a type of writer who writes by the seat of their pants. They just go with the flow and just
It's
make up
also
the story as they go along.
it's also sometimes called discovery writing, which I think sounds more dignified, personally.
Yes, I do agree. So I will probably use discovery writing or discovery writer throughout the rest of this live stream. But yes, I myself am more of a discovery writer, and like, normally I just really like to take this idea, whatever it is, just ramble ramble a bit on the page, and then get going with the story and see where it leads me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read sort of the same way. Several of my books have actually started out as short stories, like the one I'm currently writing. So um, I just started with a random character in a random place, and I created a life for her. And then I realized she was the villain. So then, of course, I had to make her the villain, because I just had this moment of realization where I was like, she's not the hero. Like, everyone's supposed to be the hero of their own stories, but like, she's not. She's the villain for this later thing that I haven't even thought of yet. And that short story is now over 30,000 words. So I think it surpassed the qualifications for a short story now. And I'm not even halfway through, so I really don't think it qualifies anymore. But a lot of times I will just start writing. I just have I have an
Yeah.
image of like one scene, and then I will just write it down, and I will just keep going and keep going until like 80,000 words later, I have a mess. And then I have to revise it endlessly.
Yeah, like, I think that is probably one of the best ways to start writing, and that is to just write. I would say this is my favorite writing advice of all time. Like, just write. Like, you don't have to even write your current work in progress. You can write a short story, a poem. You can write a long string of complaints on why you would rather be doing anything else other than writing right now. But that is, I think, what Gail Carson Levine called writing junk, and that really helps me.
Yeah, in
And
her book Writing Magic, right?
yeah, And also, what you said about the villain origin story. Oh, I have something kind of like that. So, like, I
Yeah,
was
you said.
working, yeah, like, I was working on my book, Island Keepers, and well, it's kind of a mess right now. I have no idea how I'm supposed to dig myself out of this chaos. But I was writing book 2, and I finally met the villain. I won't reveal her name right now, but I finally met the villain, and she was supposed to be like dark and menacing and scary, kind of like Ravenna, but perhaps not as scary as Ravenna. Ravenna's the villain in the Enchantress series, but yes. And while I was writing that villain, like while I wrote her, she just was not menacing or scary at all. She was funny. She was humorous, rather sarcastic, but also very charming. So not how I envisioned her. And as I started writing, I just realized, wait, she's not the villain. She's actually trying to do a good thing, and people just think she's the villain.
Yeah,
And
and that
like,
that could be really interesting too when villains are sort of made like that. I think that is
yeah,
interesting too. Which
yeah,
it's actually writing this villain origin story that I'm writing. It's actually been very useful because I'm sort of building a foundation for myself because I'm figuring out my world and how it works. When she was a kid who is going to be an adult when I write my um, story about them trying to defeat her, presumably, or something. I haven't quite decided yet. So I'm sort of laying the foundation of getting my world set up, and I feel like that is very useful because I'm really feeling like I'm getting a strong sense of this world that she lives in and how things work there.
yeah. And guys, feel free to like share a little bit about what your villains are like. If any of your characters have ever just randomly surprised you, like mine did. Yeah.
Yes.
And yeah.
Which
So
which brings me to a
hmm?
question for you is do you ever base your characters off of actual people?
Ooh, basing characters off of real people. I feel like a lot of writers do this, but for me, the answer is no. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah, like I just every time I start writing a book, I just like I just create a character, a brand new
Mhm.
character. I do not base them off of anyone in real life, mainly because I don't know that many people that well in real life.
Right. And I actually had never done this before. Um because I don't know, I had never had I always just made up my own characters. But while I was writing the book I am currently writing, I I was writing this character and I realized that she reminded me of my cousin, Leah. Um
Ooh.
so I started asking myself, what would Leah do? Every with this character when I was writing, I would just see what would Leah do, and then when I was talking to her one day, I told her about it, and you're always kind of worried what people are going to think. Like, hey, I based a character off you. I hope you don't mind. And actually, she was quite on board with the plan. So now, whenever her character is
Yay.
doing anything, I just email her and I'm like, "Would you do this?" and
Yeah,
um,
yes, all
so
right. Yeah. I am now seeing how basing characters off of real people could be very useful.
yeah, I'd never done it
But yeah,
before, but
yeah,
then it's sort of
uh,
like I can ask my character what she would do, sort of. But
yeah, yeah.
so
So
thank you,
yeah,
Leah, for being such a good sport about me using you.
Yes. And also, B, all of my characters are from my family. I used my family tree. Yeah, that is definitely like an interesting way to write characters. Ooh, family tree. Okay, sorry. My brain just randomly spiraled into an idea for a book about a family tree.
Yes, yes, yes. And she also said that in her second book, her character's aunt was supposed to be nice and helpful, and she had to change the name because she ended up being mean and nasty. Yes, I can see how a name for a nice, helpful aunt could be different from a mean aunt. Which
Yes, exactly.
names, I mean, it's hard to pick the right name for your character, I feel like, because you want it to be like the right name, you know?
Yeah.
If you name your character something wrong, then it's just gonna feel wrong. So
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, I have a lot of stuff I want to say about this, but like, yeah, so like, one way I name characters is that I will sometimes name them after other characters. Surprise! Yeah, and like, I might have some characters based off of other characters, or at least like some of my characters might be a mix of a bunch of different characters I've read about. And actually, Talia Stormrider from my book, Enchantria Guardian's Heir, is actually named after another character, Talia Grace, from Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series. And yes. So I do name characters after other characters. And what else was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say.
I mean, do you have any like other methods of naming characters? Or you just sort of they come pre-named in your mind.
Okay, so it's a mix because, each character is different. So I've had some characters that did indeed come pre-named, like an idea that I have. Um, and another one of my some other characters that I write, I usually have to just try and pick out a good name for them. And I have several different methods for naming characters. The first one is basically I scour the internet and every baby name site for names that will suit my character. And I actually did this probably around yesterday, and it's how I got the name for my character. She's a raven, a statue. Technically, she's a statue, but if you say like a sort of incantation, then the statue will transform into an actual bird
That's
who is a
very
very wise bird. Yeah, her name is Evelyn. Hopefully, I'm saying the name right. And it is an Irish name, and it is spelled rather differently. I will put the spelling in the comments, but
yeah.
that is how you spell her name. The
Ooh.
BH in Irish is actually a V. So that may confuse some of my readers.
Yeah, but I mean, just they can pronounce it however they want. That's how I feel
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Like if you say my character's name wrong, I don't really care. I think it sort of amuses me actually. So say
Yeah.
it however you want.
Yeah. And like Shannon Messenger once said that people were always asking her for pronunciations on character names. And one time she said that I think she said that like one thing she likes is that the reader can use their own imagination and all that. So yeah, I never really thought about it that way before, but yes, I definitely do agree with that. And some of my readers may come up with even better pronunciations
Yeah.
than the original pronunciation I had in mind.
And
Yeah.
so I am actually names come to me either two ways. Either when I'm writing a character, they just pop into my head, and well, maybe three ways. And then like the character comes pre-named, sort of. It's like, okay, this is this character's name, and that is their name, and it has to be their name. And then sometimes I I have a running list of names, sort of, and I'm always, when I'm out and about in the world, I'm always looking for names, like on street signs or mailboxes or like donor bricks. Sometimes they have like little bricks of people who donated on places, and I'm always looking at those kinds of things for new names and writing them down. And so I have a list going, and sometimes I just pick from there. And then the other way is I will put in a placeholder name. I do this a lot for places. And then I finish the book, and I still just have elf name. I did this once. I wrote the entire book. This character was just elf name. And so I would just be like, elf name said this. And so it took me a really long time to fix that, actually. And because I just started thinking of him as elf name, and then it was hard to like think of him as something else. So I actually took elf name and I rearranged the letters a bit. I flipped it backwards and rearranged the letters, and I got Emmenfell. So and now he's Emmenfell.
Oh wow, that is definitely a very creative way for naming things. Like,
because I was like,
yeah, I do something like kind of similar to that, especially when I name places. And so I don't know what this game is called. It's like this kind of game where I guess you just start from one word and then you swap out a letter and do it one by one until you get a different word. And basically, when I start naming places, that is what I do sometimes. Guys, if you know what the game is called, do let me know in the comments.
I don't know. Like, does it have a name? I don't know. But I have done that before too, and it is quite fun for some reason. I don't know why it's so fun, but it is.
Yeah.
So,
oftentimes things. Yeah. Oftentimes that is how I will name places. Like, there was this one place in a yet to be published book, actually yet to be written book, where I wanted like a kingdom name, and I was inspired by Gail, Carson, Levine. And so, of course, as I was trying to figure out what name this kingdom is going to have, well, I was inspired by Gail, Carson, Levine, and so the only names that was coming to me was Kyria. And of course, I couldn't use Kyria because, Gail, Carson, Levine already used that. So I basically played that game, and I ended up with something. I don't remember exactly. It began with Kytra? Maybe? I don't know, but like, I think it was Kytra. And like, definitely a unique kingdom name, and I think it definitely fits my
word chain. Mia got it.
Word chain. Thank you, B. Yes, word chain. That is a fun game to play. And another thing that I like to do when I name characters is I will just sort of examine their personality or their character if I know them well enough, and like I will pick out a few certain qualities, like maybe kind, caring, evil, and I will just Google up like what names mean like wise or kind.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and that is actually how I ended up with Evelyn the Raven. And yeah, I was basically just Googling like what female names mean. I'm sorry, my brain. Okay, what female names mean wise? And so I was Googling that, and the name Evelyn just popped up, and like it's an Irish name, and some people say that it means bird. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but yeah, so like that was how it came to me, and of course Evelyn's a raven, so if the name actually does mean bird and also means wise, then it's a perfect name.
I think it is quite a good name. I never heard it. I may have heard it before. I just don't remember, but it is. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, can I ask you a random question about writing?
Can you repeat that, please? I didn't.
I shall ask you a random question, or maybe not so random question about writing, but that question is, what do you think is the hardest scene for you to write?
Like the hardest type of scenes?
Yeah.
I don't know. That is a hard question because there are a lot. I feel like the scenes that I have the hardest part with is I have to think about that. I mean, do you have an answer while I'm racking my brains over here?
Well, for me, the hardest scene for me to write is action scenes. And like, which is kind of like not that great that it's one of the hardest scenes for me to write, because Enchantria is kind of high fantasy and there are battles, there are attacks. My main characters must fight for their life. And that's a lot of action scenes, and I always struggle with those. So, yeah, I struggle with making it seem high paced. So, yeah, that is definitely the hardest scene for me to write.
I mean, I feel like the hardest parts for me are those quiet sort of scenes between characters where that are sort of I mean, if I scenes between characters, if like banter, I have a lot of fun with, and that is easy. But scenes where it's sort of character building in a quieter way, that is something I do have a hard time with because I just want them to go back into some action or start like making jokes, and sometimes that would not really be that fitting. I can't have my characters just make jokes while one of them is, well, actually sometimes my characters do joke while one of them is dying. um, but like there are certain scenes where you can't really have that, so that is tricky for me too.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, well,
Yeah, like I think let me think. Yeah, okay, so like it is kind of a coincidence that you said that, because those are the types of scenes that I love writing. Like those kind of quieter, wise moments. I guess.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Like
that
yeah.
that is funny because action scenes for me, I mean, I feel like action scenes are kind of hard, but like the really tense scenes I can really get
Yeah.
into, especially
Yeah.
or dialogue. When I'm writing dialogue, I really that's when I get the most words. And so I dialogue is probably the easiest for me because I just get going if I know my characters well. But
Yeah.
action scenes too. I mean, like the tense scenes where something bad is going to happen or is happening.
Ooh, yeah. I think another scene I do slightly, well, not so much enjoy, but I can write them, and I do kind of enjoy writing them, sort of, maybe, but those scenes are death scenes where I kill off my characters.
Oh yes. So yeah, killing characters. That is this something we're going to talk about?
Perhaps not. I don't know. Well, this was not in our original notes to talk about killing off characters. I suppose we should keep the event lighthearted and all that.
I suppose
So,
one must not talk about such things that are too dreadful.
yeah. So like guys, feel free to share like what kind of scenes are easiest or hardest for you to write?
Yeah, so
Yeah, and there's also something that I really do like want to discuss, perhaps while we wait for people to say like
yeah.
to share to share like what scenes are hard for them and all that. And this is kind of related, but like what do you think are some of the hardest struggles about writing, and why do you think writing is worth it?
Yeah, that is a good thing we can talk about, because writing really, I mean, I think writing is um, wonderful, obviously, since I am a writer, and
Yeah.
but there are a lot of hard things about it. And one of the hard things I think that most people don't think about is that when you're writing, you're sort of like training your brain to think certain ways. And it can be hard to not think like that when you're not writing. Because, for instance, when you're writing, you want to think like, well, this happens, so then this happens, and then this happens because of it. And then in real life, when something you're always like your mind is always going down this like train tunnel of, okay, this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, and which is kind of worrying when you're thinking about things in real life. So that can be kind of hard to like turn that off, so to speak, and be like, well,
Yeah.
can I not just like think of 10,000 imaginary scenarios of how this conversation can go? Please.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that is one hard thing. I feel like isn't talked about a whole lot. And also, I mean, it can be a lot, once you have this manuscript and you've been revising for like 6 months and it's still not good enough and you don't know if it'll ever be good enough. And then like you send it out for feedback and like half the people say it's great, and then you're like, oh, it's great. And the other half are like, well, it needs a lot more work. And you're like, well, maybe it isn't so great. And it can be really challenging. I mean, as you can probably tell, revision for me is the hardest part
Yeah.
of writing for me, because I just want to write books and then move on and write more books and then move on
Yeah.
and write more books. And I don't want to have to stop and go back and read them 40 times and change everything up. So this is hard for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So like why do you think like they're worth it? Like why do you keep writing?
Yeah, I mean, actually, this is something I never used to think that much about. And when I was at Teen Author Boot Camp this in 2024, so that would be last year, I actually had the opportunity to speak with one of my favorite authors, Christopher Paolini, who wrote Aragon.
Ooh.
And I got to speak with him, which was I'm very glad I did, because I was quite nervous about talking to people after that. But Mr. Paolini was very nice, and he talked to me quite some time. So while I was sort of lurking awkwardly in the escalator, well, he was like, you could talk to me, it's fine. Like, I'm fine. So then, but he actually asked me, why do you write? And I had to stop because no one had ever asked me that question before. I had never asked myself that question before, and I did not know the answer. And I don't remember what I told him. Something boring. But I really just had to think about that because no one had ever asked me that before. And I would then, like, lying in the hotel room like that night, I was just like staring at the ceiling and like, why do I write? And why do I write? Because I didn't know the answer. And I have thought about it a lot since. And I think it is something that is useful to think about, because if you know why you're doing something, then you can sort of do it more effectively and know the reasons, So I think one of the main reasons I do write is because I think a lot. I have a lot of ideas in my head, and if I did not write them down, they would just stay there in my
Yeah.
head. They would never go away, and I would be driven insane by them. So I must write them down to keep myself sane, pretty much. And also, I mean, I do take great enjoyment out of writing. I feel like it makes me a better person because for various reasons. And also, like I said before, I mean, really getting into someone's head and living through someone else is very powerful. And so that is, and then I mean, I don't know, there's just something about stories that make me like insanely happy. And I don't know, it's just like books make me very pleased. And I just love books and writing. So I think you should do what you love if you can. If you can. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah, and like I definitely do agree with you on that. And for me, well, I think for me the hardest part about writing is definitely all the self-doubt, I guess, because like as you said, revision can get tough and you just don't know whether your book is good enough or not. And sometimes these past few months, I've just kind of been questioning, whether my writing is good or not. And like, I know it
mhm,
is good. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is. But at the same time, there's this part of my mind that's just like spiraling into what if it's not good enough. And
yeah,
oftentimes, I will look at all of these amazing books on my bookshelf and
mhm,
sort of just compare myself to them.
right.
And yeah,
That is a hard thing that a lot of it's easy to fall into because you can say, okay, look at this, look at this book. It is polished and beautiful, and it is like my
yeah,
favorite book. And it every sentence is absolutely perfect, even though it's probably
yeah,
not, but because it's your favorite book, that feels that way. And you have to remember that at one time, these books were first drafts and they had mistakes, and it took a lot to get them to this point. And often, the book that makes an author well known, sometimes it's not even their first book. Maybe they wrote five, or even sometimes the first book that gets published. I mean, I'm pretty sure Brandon Sanderson wrote like 13 novels before he got unpublished.
yeah,
And a lot of other authors have also, so it's not their first book off. Sometimes it is, and but sometimes it's not. Sometimes they've written a lot of other things beforehand. And also,
yeah,
they have um they've edited a lot, and it's gone through revisions and beta readers and all these things that you really have to remember. And you because it's hard because you don't see that rough draft. Like you only see the finished product when it's beautiful and amazing and
yeah,
absolutely perfect. So I think it is a hard thing to fall into. You just have to remember that, like, you have to just do the best you can, I think, and not be like, well, I'm not as good as this person, and this person can do
yeah,
better than me, so I should just give up.
yeah,
Because there are
yeah,
always going to be people who are better than you at anything. I mean, pretty much.
yeah, that is definitely true. And there is also another part of the question for me to answer, and that
Oh, yeah,
would
sorry.
be why I write. Also, no need to apologize. I think what you said is definitely something a lot of writers need to hear. And for me, I think why I write. It's a complicated question, and there are lots of different reasons. I write because, well, I do enjoy writing, but I guess I also write because, I will have to think about that. So, when I first started out writing, or like when I first started writing, like I didn't really think about why I was writing. I just wrote. I got stuck in writer's block. I got stuck with writer's blocks for such a long time. And like I just, even after I finished the first drafts of book 1 and book 2 in the Enchantria series, I never really questioned why I wrote. I never really realized like my reason behind writing. And honestly, it wasn't until I read a certain book that I actually started realizing that this is what I want to do, and like this is why I want to write. And that book, let me go and fetch that book from the very bottom of my book pile.
Yes.
And that book is this book, Writing Magic by Gail Carson Levine.
Which is
Gail Carson, yeah. Gail Carson Levine is one of my favorite writers of all time. And I finally decided to get her book, Writing Magic. It is a guidebook for young writers. And as I started reading this, something about the ways the book talked about writing and what it was like to be a writer just really drew me in, I guess. Because the way Gail Carson Levine just talked about writing, like, she made it sound fun, carefree, creative, where you have the power to create your own world. You can write whatever you want, and you don't even have to publish it. You can just like write for the fun of it, create your own world. And as I read it, I was just kind of like, this is it. This is exactly what I want to do. And I guess as I got like deeper into my writing journey, I also slowly found out that there was another reason behind my writing. And, okay, so the other reason was because, like, as a kid, reading was just so important to me. Like, I have, we've spoken about this, and, it's been so important to me. And reading has just, it's shown me a bunch of different worlds, I guess. And it's just, well, on one hand, it's fun, but at the same time, it's also inspired me. And I'm not really sure how to describe this.
Yeah.
But I guess it showed me the truth about the world, like kind of what the world is like, how to get through the tough times, what it really means to be brave. And also they also inspired me, and through books, I think through many stories, like they really show you like what the world is like, but they also show you, I guess, what the world could be, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, like
I mean, a
yeah,
lot
like
of what I learned
yeah.
about people and the way the world works was from books, which led me to have a very romanticized, dramatized view of the world, which I still share to this day. And, but it really did. I mean, because even though characters are not real people, they were created by real people who are humans who live in this world, one would presume. And so, yeah, and that you can really see some experiences through books of other people. So, which we already
Yeah,
talked.
yeah, exactly. And like books inspired me. They brought me books and stories. Like they really brought me hope in times when things were just really dark, when I just felt sad. But like even when those happened, like there were books there and there were stories there to remind me, like to just remind me of like how to get through this, of the power of, I guess, kindness, courage, hope, and all that.
Mhm.
And so that is another reason behind my writing. And that
Yeah.
is that I want to like spread that through my own writing. And I don't really try and push too hard on that, since, just let it come naturally. And
Yeah,
yeah,
but
but
it's
yeah,
still there, so
yeah,
right.
yeah, definitely.
And since you shared your writing magic book, which is an excellent writing guide, do you want to do some other, like, a couple more recommendations for any, like, writing sites that you use or writing books that you have greatly inspired you?
Yeah, so I shall share a few of my writing tips, like along with a lot of books that have helped me
Yes.
as a writer. And of course, okay, so of course, like one of my favorite craft books on writing is this book, Writing Magic by Gail, Carson, Levine. It's a young writer's guide. But what I love most about this book is that, like, unlike most, um, craft books on writing or writing websites, like, they don't really tell, like, this book doesn't really tell you exactly how to write
Right.
a book. It just shows you, like, it shows you her own experience as a
Mhm.
writer. It shows you what writing involves, what being a writer is like, and what can, I guess, come out of writing, and both the
Mhm.
joys and the struggles of being a writer.
Yeah. And also another book that is similar to that one, and it's just also yellow, is Spilling Ink by Ann Meeser and Ellen Potter, which apparently all the good craft books are yellow, so if you see yellow craft books, then they're the best. No, no, I'm just kidding, sort of. I mean, Save the Cat is also orange, so you know. But I do have another craft book, which is blue. I actually
Ooh.
got this at my writing conference that I went to. I went to a publishing master class, and I got this book, which is called Write Fearless, Edit Smart, Get Published by Lisa Mangum, which I have been reading. I am about halfway through, and I have been reading, and it is quite excellent. Quite an excellent thing.
Yeah.
Book thing.
Yeah.
Quite an excellent book about
Yeah.
writing and such. And I feel like that is a thing about writing, is you have to find, I mean, because there is a lot of writing advice out there, and it can be
Yeah.
hard to find advice that is good. And because if you just like search on internet search, it can be very scary. So
Yeah.
another site, let's see, there are two. One of them is called goteenwriters.com. Here, I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah. That is a good idea.
And that is an excellent site for not just teen writers. They have some great articles. They do not put out articles anymore. They have a newsletter though, and
Oh.
it's quite good. It comes out like twice a month with links to articles they've done and some such things. But and then also helping writers become authors, which is a site by K.M. Wieland, and it has some excellent writing articles on there too. So those are two that I like because
Yeah, I will have to check those sites out. And I also have some of my own I would like to share.
Mhm.
The first one is Gail Carson Levine's blog, and she doesn't post on there anymore, but there is a whole archive of writing tips over there. Okay, there is a lot, as in a lot, a lot. And the writer's advice column down in the comments over there is still going on. So there are also, like, still writers to help you with any writing problems you might have.
Mhm.
I am also active on there, so if you would like, I don't know, some writing tips from me, you can
Yeah.
post about it there, and perhaps I shall reply. Who knows? But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
and yeah.
Also, there is a writing community that both me and Isabelle are part of. I think some of you watching are as well. And so it used to be called Storycraft Cafe. They just rebranded it as W Campus. I think it'll still come up under Storycraft though. And it is an excellent little writing community. There are a lot of fun people on there, which is good to like bounce ideas off people or get encouragement. This writing community is an important thing and something I didn't have for a long time, and I feel like it's greatly helped me.
Yeah, and like that is definitely one of my tips for young writers, and that is to find a good writing community, because writing can be super lonely. When I wrote the Enchantress series, I was a sort of weird 11-year-old girl living in a totally different country, and I didn't have that many friends in real life, to be honest. And writing it can get rather lonely, especially when you are writing and you're so immersed in your world. And like having a writing community really helps, because there are other writers you can talk to, writers who have been through the same thing that you are going through. And you can, like as Journey said, bounce ideas off of each other. That is actually how Book 4 in the Enchantress series was saved, because I was just freaking out about Book 4, to be honest. Like, freaking out because, like, I guess I got a little too obsessed with writing tips, and so, like...
Yeah.
Okay, I lost my train of thought. Also,
but yeah, I mean, I really feel like you have to pick which writing advice works for you.
Yeah.
And because there is a lot, as we've mentioned, and if you try to follow it all, then you'll be overwhelmed, and it all contradicts each other. So I feel like you really just have to like take some advice and not all of it, because take some, try it out, different things, and see what works best for you, because everyone is different, everyone's writing is different. And
yeah, and like that is definitely why I do like a writing advice from another writer. I think Margaret Atwood or something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't really know if it's her, but an author on Goodreads, in like a Goodreads question/answer, someone asked them what their advice for young writers is. And their advice was to like not worry about writing advice for now, and to just write. And yeah, like I definitely agree with that, because yes, writing advice can be super helpful. But as Journey said, like there is no right or wrong way to write your book. And you have to know that, because like each and every story is different, and like there are different ways to write stories and all that. So yeah.
Even my process for writing my different projects is completely different, because one project you might want to outline, and it might work well for you, and another project maybe your outline is just not working, so maybe you do just need to write it. And I feel like you should at least try a lot of different methods, or at least some different methods, to see if one of them works better for you. So I feel like that is a thing.
Yeah, that I definitely agree with you on that. And also, I also nearly almost forgot to mention, but there is also another website that has some brilliant writing advice, and that is Journey's blog.
Yes, I did just start my author website last month, maybe, and so it doesn't have a huge amount of stuff on there. Oh gosh. it doesn't have a huge amount of stuff on there, but I do have writing advice on there, and I am putting out more. So there we go. It is journeybloomfield.wordpress.com.
Yeah. And yeah, the writing advice on there is absolutely brilliant. It's super helpful, it's super fun and encouraging. Yeah. And there's also yet another book to recommend. And you know what? I think if I went in depth into all of the writing books that have helped me, we would be here for an incredibly long time. So I shall just type the names in the comments and let you guys check them out. So another one is Writer to Writer from Sink to Ink by Gail, Carson, Levine. There's also Writing on Both Sides of the Brain by Henriette and Klauser, I think. Hopefully I'm saying her name correctly. And yes, those are two other books on writing that have really helped me a lot. I really hope that they help you too. And yeah.
Because I feel like it is helpful to read craft books, because even if not all of them, I mean, really, if you can just take one thing from every craft book you read, or every article on writing you read, if you can just take one thing from it, then you'll still get lots of knowledge and everything. So
yeah. So also I think, hold on, let me check the event notes again. So
I feel like we're almost to our Q&A now.
Yeah. Let me see. Yes, I do think that we are probably at our live Q&A now. So hopefully there are enough people watching.
Please ask us questions that are.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
So
we would love to have any questions we have. So right now we have one from Abby Matthews, and she said, my question for each of you is this: what is your writer's dream? Where do you want to be in 10 years?
Oh, wow. So, Journey, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I will go first on that, because that is a good question. So I think that in 10 years, I would hope to have maybe a couple books published, and I would hope to, I don't need to be writers are not realistically usually very wealthy, and I don't need to be. It's not something I have to, but I would like to be able to support myself through writing, so that I could spend my time writing instead of having to take a day job or something. So I would hope to be able to support myself and my family, and and have a couple books published, have at least some fans, not who liked my books, because there wouldn't be much point in writing and getting books out there if nobody read them. So I would hope for that. And that is a good question.
Yeah. So now I shall answer that. All right. Hold on. Let me see. Hold on a second. Okay, I'm sorry. StreamYard glitched out a bit for me.
Oh dear.
Are there any new comments? Okay, are there? No. I don't know. It's being kind of weird right now. But yes, so my answer to Abby's question, what is your writer dream? Okay, this is kind of a hard question for me, because there's a lot of things I want to do in my writing, and to narrow it down to just a few, okay, let me try. So I guess what I really want to do in my writing is, like you said, to have people read my books. And I also want to be able to inspire people and to just like have the same impact on other people as books had on
Yeah.
me, if that makes any sense. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that
like,
does make sense. I think that is a
yeah,
definitely a good thing. Yeah, inspire
yeah,
people. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I
So
was
like,
also going to mention that if you do not have an account and you cannot comment on here, then you can go to my website journeybloomfield.wordpress.com
yes,
and go to the contact page and ask me questions through there, and I will get them on my email, and then we will answer those too. I
yes.
Yes, we have another question from Leah Taylor, who asks, "Would either of you want maybe movies to be made from your books?" Oh, that is hard because what do you
Oh
think?
wait,
Made
hold on.
from?
I'm not getting any new comments. Oh dear, I think mine is glitching
No,
sadly.
this was emailed to me.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yes.
right. All right, that makes more sense. Would ease okay, should I go first?
Yeah, you go first.
All right. So, would either of you want movies to be made for your books? For me, no, not really. I mean, sure, it might be kind of cool, but also movie adaptations of books, it is kind of a
Yes.
50-50 situation. Okay, you could have a
Yes.
totally amazing movies that you love, like Cressida Cowell's book series, How to Train Your Dragon. She loves like some movies, like the
Mhm.
movie versions of How to Train Your Dragon are super different,
Yes.
but like at the same time, they're like
Yeah.
they stay true to the heart of the story. And on the other
Mhm.
hand, you could have a movie that kind of falls apart a little bit and just doesn't stay true to the
Yeah,
book.
because I mean, you could
Yeah,
either have like Lord of the Rings movies, like
yeah,
totally go days through the book, or you could have the movie of Aragon that was never made version. And so, um, I
yes,
would say I would only want to have a movie made if I was directly involved, and I don't.
yes,
I
that is
mean,
true.
if it wasn't just like they're like, okay, we're gonna go make a movie. You can just keep writing, do your thing. You can come watch it when it's done. Um,
Yeah,
so I would want to um
yeah,
I would it's not because it is sort of like a 50-50 because a lot of
yeah,
them are get like mutilated and then you're like this is not right. But
yeah,
some of them like Lord of the Rings, which is my favorite book movie adaptation, is absolutely wonderful and I feel like it captures the essence of the of the books well. So
yes,
it could be that. So yeah.
yes. We want editorial privileges.
Oh yes, yes,
Yes,
definitely.
we do.
So we also have a question from Mia Hatcher.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you think that you will still be writing the same genre you do now in, say, 10 years?
ooh, that is yeah. I feel like I will. I mean, fantasy is really. I've always loved fantasy ever since even when I was a small child. I always wanted the picture books with dragons in them.
Yeah.
But I really do feel like I will because I just love fantasy so much. And I mean, if I had to pick one genre to read, I mean, I could read fantasy, only fantasy books for the entire rest of my life. And I
Yeah.
mean, I would rather read other genres too, but if I just had to pick one, I could read fantasy books for the rest of my life
Yeah.
and be happy with that and be good with that. So I feel like I could also write fantasy too. I might, I always want to try other genres, so I feel like I will eventually. I always want to try writing dystopia. I've tried writing dystopia; it is
Ooh.
always dreadful. um, but I would like to experiment with some other genres, but I feel like fantasy is really my like go-to genre.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah. So, let
here, you want what do you
yes.
think?
Yeah, so I think that, like, I kind of don't know. The future is very uncertain, so
Mm,
to be honest, I'm afraid my answer is I am not sure.
yeah, I mean, it is hard. I mean, you really don't know. And then she also asked, will your books grow up with you from, say, YA or middle grade to more adult meaning? That is also a good
Yeah,
question. I really
yeah,
do know. I mean, it has so far because I started out writing like picture books and then I moved on to like fun middle grade and then I watched Lord of the Rings and decided that decapitations were way more fun. So then I started writing young adult and
yeah,
as I get older, like my books tend to like stay in pretty much the age range I'm reading. So I could not say. I mean, if I started reading a lot of adult books, I might. Um, but then again, there are lots of adults who do read young adult.
yeah,
So I am not sure. I feel like maybe I will when I am an adult, I will try writing adult books, at least one or two. But I don't know. I mean, for now, I do plan to write young adult for the next at least a while longer. But you can
yeah.
never know about such things.
Yeah, like for me, this is actually something I've been thinking about for a while now because, like, right now I am writing middle grade because I myself am in the middle grade age range. I shall not, I don't think I will be in the age range when I get older, but middle grade has always been something that I have loved. So I don't know. So I think my answer would be maybe because, like, as I get older and if I read more YA right now, YA isn't quite my genre, but like if I do read more YAs, and yes, I will probably write some YA books. However, I think even then, middle grade will still be close to my heart because
Yeah,
it is the genre I grew up with. It is the genre in which you see a lot of these beautiful scenes, like
yeah,
I've probably mentioned it a million times already. Yeah, and you also get to sort of be a kid again. So,
yeah.
yes.
Thing. I mean, I like reading books that I read when I was younger, just because that nostalgic feel, like and because books really mean different things to you as you get older and as you've had different experiences. So it is interesting to read the same book when you're older and see what a different outlook you have on it.
Yeah, definitely. So,
Now,
wait a
I
second.
I have a question for you though.
Oh, all right.
Okay, so what is? Oh wait. Okay, that question is still there. Okay, let me. What is your favorite scene that you have written in your book,
Ooh. All right. This is an interesting one.
or
Favorite
like,
scene I've ever written. Hmm. Favorite scene I've ever written. Oh my goodness. I have written so many scenes by now. I have absolutely no idea.
yeah, I mean, yeah, or like maybe like a couple favorites, like from your
All
book
right.
you're working on right now,
All right.
maybe.
All right. The book I'm working on right now, that narrows it down definitely. Favorite scenes that I have written. Okay, I don't know if this is exactly my favorite, but it is definitely ones that I was very excited to write and also really stressed while writing, and that is the build up to the climax for book 4 of the Enchantria series. I
Endings.
cannot give away spoilers, but let's just say they had one hope and it was destroyed, and also
Oh,
Eleonora needs something to finally becomes a hero of the land, except that that thing she needs, I'll just say things don't turn out very well, alright? So, that was definitely fun to write. While I was writing it, I was just like, I was shocking myself with what was going on. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And for me, in case anyone is like wondering, if I'm going to answer my own question here. For me, there is this one scene in the Audrey Mirror where a raven brings them their kids. They just got like sort of kicked out from the secret society they were with, and and then they are just sitting on this like curb almost, except like a medieval curb, and they are just sitting there. And then the raven, there is a fortune telling raven because my book, of course, has fortune telling ravens, which I thought was very original. And then I read like 6 other books that had fortune telling ravens, and then
really?
Well, not 6, probably a couple. At least a couple, I think. And then, so anyways, the raven brings them this cheese wheel. And the raven and then the kids and this raven are just sitting on this curb eating this cheese wheel. And I'm really hoping that someone at some point, when my books are well known, makes fan art of this because for me and shows it to me. But it's just like such a whimsical scene that I have wanted writing that.
Yeah. I have a question for you, actually.
All right.
Let me think. What was the question again? All right. So,
and then we have one more question that was emailed.
Oh, really? Okay, that is good.
Yeah. And yeah, I think we have one more question unless anyone in the comments asks any more.
All right, so we have several more because like I also added ones that I do wish to ask you. So. All right, okay, which do we start with first? There's one that says, "Who is thy favorite character ever?"
Oh, yes. Yes, that's the one that was emailed me. Yes. Favorite character. Well, I think we should do 2 versions of this because I think we need a favorite character from like other people's worlds and a favorite character from our own writing. Exactly. So here, you want to go first for fictional, like other worlds, not yours, like other people's worlds.
Definitely. I have so many.
I know, me too.
Yeah. But if I had to choose, I would say Starlight Glimmer from My Little Pony. And there's also like so many other books I've read, but let me think a bit. Ooh, favorite character. I know I have a lot of favorite characters, but now that I'm trying to think of them,
you want me to go first?
Yes.
Okay. My favorite character ever, from anything ever, is Aragon from Lord of the Rings. I must admit, yes, he is my favorite character, pretty much ever. Actually, yes, ever. Because who doesn't love Aragon, really? And yeah, he's just like so.
Yeah. So, my favorite character from another book, I will search through my stack of books to see if... Oh, wait. I do have one. I don't know if she's exactly my favoriteest character ever, but she is the one I came up with at the last minute. So, she is from this book, When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller, and that character is the Korean tiger that you see on the cover. And basically, I'm not sure how to say this, but basically, the book... Okay, how do I explain who this tiger spirit is? So basically, long story short, the book follows this main character, a shy girl named Lily. And she and her sister and her mom have to move to her halmoni, which is Korean for grandmother, her halmoni's house. And there she finds out that, Halmoni is sick. And then Lily meets one of the tiger spirits from Halmoni's stories. That is the tiger you will see on the cover. And the tiger, makes a deal. return what her Harmony stole in exchange for Harmony's help, because Harmony is sick. So yes, I will admit that one of my books that I was writing is kind of a ripoff of this, but I will change it later so that hopefully it's not that much of a ripoff. But yeah, and the thing I just love about the tiger is that she's just mysterious, and I guess she's mysterious, and I guess she really shows Lily something, if that makes any sense. Shows Lily a sort of lesson, and it's not very upfront. It's more hidden beneath the surface. But once you get to the climax of the book, then you realize that. Then you realize that the tiger spirit has really taught. The tiger spirit, and along with the stories, have really taught the main character Lily something.
Like
and
a
so
mentor.
that is, yeah.
I do.
Yeah. And that's why this tiger spirit is one of my favorite characters.
I do have a soft spot for the mentor characters, really, and it's sad. It's sad because the mentors always die. Not always, but a lot of times, especially in fantasy, the mentors die, and I always get super attached to them, and then they die, and I'm like, no, not
I know
whoever. I can't use any examples because that would give away spoilers.
Yes.
So
sadly, we cannot give any examples. But let me see if there are any other characters I like.
Yeah, and what about from your books, from Enchantria or some of your other projects?
All right. So, favorite character from the Enchantria series, Ronnie. So Ronnie, she is the Starseer's apprentice, and I don't know, I just really like her. She's 12 years old, and she's kind of, I would say, maybe a little scatterbrained sometimes, not always, but also kind of wise, I guess, because she's a Starseer's apprentice, and she knows stuff. She's been through a lot, and so she's sort of wise, but also young, and she does ramble a bit sometimes. But yeah, and I rather like her.
Me too.
Yay! And another favorite character I have of mine, Eleonora, Ariella, Arabella, Talia, and let me think.
Everyone?
Well, perhaps not Jade.
Yeah.
Or Carnation. Carnation is, okay, I know it might sound rather confusing for me to be listing random characters that you know nothing of, but Carnation is basically she doesn't quite like Enchantria. She doesn't quite like the Guardians or anything, so, and she's rather bitter, so, yeah. So,
all right.
Ooh,
yeah, here, we have another question that was emailed to us, which is, do you have any hobbies that help with your writing? Now, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it is helpful to sometimes when you're feeling burnt out or getting writer's block to have another creative outlet sort of, or another creative thing that you do, because that way you can still sort of be in that creating mindset but not be working on your project. I actually I do embroidery, which I do enjoy. And yeah, I do some embroidering, which is, I think, just a fun thing to do. Assuming, but fun. And I also I play the violin too. And I feel like that, just having other creative things that you do is really helpful. And also reading, of course.
Yeah. Some of the hobbies I have Okay, I feel like a lot of my time is spent either writing or so a lot of my time is spent like trying to just fit in writing and
Mm-hmm.
being an author along with math and being homeschooled and all that. And so basically I don't have that much time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but one thing I do really enjoy doing is sketching, and I have gotten a lot better at it, and I just love sketching out like some creatures in my books or creatures for future books. And I love drawing like dragons and unicorns and basically any type of heroine who's just very fierce and with this very heroic looking flowing cape or something. I don't know. I do enjoy drawing those.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
fun. Especially if you
Yeah.
can draw stuff for your books. I am not. I mean, I can. I mean, like, yeah, drawing maps.
Yeah. Thank you so much, V.
So
Yeah.
I do like
Yeah.
drawing maps for
Yeah.
my worlds because that
Yeah.
is very fun to me and it sort of helps with like world building. And
Yeah.
then I always like write in places and then I have to add them and then I'm bad with like the distances. I'm like, okay, well they go this far on the
I
map and
know
it took them like
exactly.
4 months, and then another time they go this far and it takes them like one day.
Exactly. Like, okay, I did have a map of Enchantria. So long story short, it's kind of shaped like a rectangle. So like the width, I guess, is kind of like it's a really long distance, and yet it doesn't take the characters that long to travel there. Well, I mean, they
Mm-hmm.
did have help from Mage Mist Moon, but still, and like the height or the length of like I don't know, from north to south, I guess, is
Mm-hmm.
like it's way shorter on the map, and yet it takes them what a few weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, so kind of like I don't know, but like this amazing historical fiction, The Peach Thief by Linda Jones Smith. I was an ARC reader for this book, and it has this fantastic map in it. I'm going to try and find it.
Oh yes, here I have a map. I have a map too. My book has a map. My book has a map. Okay, wait, here yours first. Oh yeah. It's a nice
Yeah, and like here in the corner it says you probably cannot see it, but it says map not to scale.
Oh yeah, I need one of those. So this is Alagasia, and it's a wonderful map, and I just love looking
Ooh.
at it.
Yeah.
There's also a dragon eye, which is absolutely wonderful.
Oh wow, that is so cool.
With
Yeah.
both of these, Christopher Palini drew because he's very talented. So yeah, maps. I mean, if a book has a map, I'm like, okay, map. Although it's not as good with ebooks. Like ebooks, the maps are always messed up, which is very disappointing. And another reason why real books are better.
Yeah.
So yeah, because maps, I'm like, I could just stare at the map. And
Yeah, definitely. So yes, maps definitely do help. As for other hobbies, I am a wannabe gardener. I'm currently trying to grow zinnias, and it rained 3 days straight, so I don't know if my zinnias are gonna survive.
yeah, it was raining quite heavily here too yesterday.
Yeah, it's been raining all day here, all day and yesterday, so my plants have never survived past 2 weeks. I'm hoping to change that. I
Well,
don't know if I can change that.
hopefully they'll be good. Right, so here's another question, which is how do you deal with chapter titles? I don't. Well, I mean, I have always really wanted to because there's all these books and they're like have all these fun chapter titles like this book, especially. This is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. And this is actually a signed copy.
Oh wow.
And she has like the coolest titles, like the fused bones of slaughtered demons, or like muse of nightmares, or all sorts of cool names. And I'm like, I want to do that, but then I'm always just like chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3.
Like, yes, that is, same for me, because like I see all of these amazing books. This is Arusha and the End of Time by Roshni Chokshi, a fantastic middle grade book. A lot of these titles are kind of cool, so like let me see. These are like really cool. Okay, it might seem less cool if you haven't read the book and don't really know what it is, but like, why are all enchanted things so rude? Bring on the next demon. Wait, maybe not.
That is quite funny. I like it, like when they have humorous titles. Like I feel like some of the Percy Jackson books had or some of the books like Rick Riordan wrote had some like funny chapter titles, which were quite fun.
Oh yes, like this one. I accidentally vaporized my pre-algebra teacher.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and I always want to do chapter titles, and then I don't. I mean, I guess I could add them in afterwards, which is probably, I feel like, would be better, because when I am first starting a chapter, I don't even know what it's going to be about, so it would be hard for me to do.
Yeah.
But actually, when sometimes, like, when I was writing one of the first book in the duology I'm writing, I accidentally deleted the first 20,000 words irreversibly, and those were the hardest 20,000 words I had ever written, and, which is why you should back up your work, because I did not, and it's just gone forever. And I'm convinced that it's way better, so if anyone doesn't like the book, I will just tell them that the first version was magical, and it's gone now. it's convenient excuse. But anyway, so that part got deleted, and I had to rewrite it. And so then the chapters were all messed up, right? So like I had a different amount of chapters than I did before. So then it was messed up. So instead of doing numbers, because I wasn't really sure which numbers they were because it was all messed up, I would just do like chapter bad stuff happens, or chapter more bad stuff happens, because that was pretty much the most of the book. Or like chapter like this character or whatever. So like little things for myself, because you gotta like put the fun little things in sometimes just for you, and then edit them out later. Like
and like oftentimes I forget which chapter I'm on, and so in a book I wrote like the chapters were just chapter something, and then the next chapter something, chapter something, chapter
I do the same thing, or like just chapter exclamation point, chapter question mark. Yeah, I do the same thing. All right.
Yes, very true.
All right, so are we gonna announce a writing challenge now?
Yeah, only if no one has any more questions.
Well, I mean, after we announce, we should announce it, and then if anyone has any more questions, they can put them while we're announcing or after. We'll answer those afterwards too. But I want to announce our writing challenge. So, me and Isabelle thought it would be fun if we could send you off with a little bit of a fun little writing challenge sort of thing, and so we are going to give you a first sentence, which I will put up in a second. I will put it up on the screen and in the comments so you can copy and paste it. And we're going to put a first sentence, and then you guys, we would like you to take that first sentence and write a story. I mean, it doesn't have to be like a story. It could be anything. It could be like a poem or like song lyrics or anything like you want, anything creative, as long as it is appropriate for like a PG or middle grade audience is all. But anything you want, any genre. It kind of seems like it is for one specific genre, but you guys are clever, so I think you could put it in different things, different genres. And we are actually you can feel free to email your finished and edited stories to me or Isabelle. And then we will pick one or two of the stories that get sent to us to feature on our websites, and credit you and link to your author website or any author website or anything you might have if you have that. And then, so we thought it would be fun to do that. So you can send them through me, my website, journeybloomfield.wordpress.com, or Isabelle's website, springfallschronicle.com.
And like, hold on, I shall type out my website for you to see. And, you know, just head to the contact page over there, and you will find my official author email there. Hopefully I will see it. Because,
but if we don't respond, we will respond if we got it. If we don't respond within a couple days, then feel free to send it again in case we didn't get it, because, you know, the scary spam folder of doom is a thing. So yeah, hopefully, you know, and you don't have to share it. Because if you do share it, you just have to know, like, it could potentially be put up on our websites. But you don't have to share it, and if you don't want to, you can just do it for fun for yourself. But whatever you want to write, I mean, really, there is a lot of possibilities, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be like flash fiction, like 100 words, or it could be like 3,000 words or 5,000. You know, whatever you want to do with it. Okay, so we're gonna put our first sentence, which is. Very fun. Isabelle came up with it. It was the first time I had ever seen a dragon eat chocolate. And as soon as Isabelle said this, I was like, well, that's so fun. You know, it's like just a fun, quirky little thing. I mean, and you could take this a lot of different directions. I mean, if you wanted to just make it a horror thing, then I'm sure you could figure out some way to do it. Hopefully.
So like, feel free to like tweak the sentence a bit. You know,
a
you
little
can change
bit,
the dragon to an alien dragon, or the dragon.
Well, yeah, like it could be a space dragon or whatever, or cryo chocolate. But or switch the tense. You know, play with it a little bit as long as it stays like the same thing. It's a pretty like loose prompt, but we just thought it would be fun to send you off with a little bit of a writing challenge, and so we will be probably. I guess we'll probably pick the winners within like
a week,
probably like sometime April.
Yes,
a couple weeks maybe. It depends, but like no rush or anything.
So I am super excited to
and I'm like tempted to do this myself because it's like,
really
so random. I don't know, it's just like kind of fun sentence. All right, but I think we are about to the end, which is kind of sad because I've been having fun, and hopefully y'all have been having fun and like taking something from it at least.
I am just so sad because apparently the event's kind of over now. Okay, not over. We still have farewells to do, but I think that is all we have.
But we have to send you off with something inspirational, and so everyone who is writing, I mean, you really have to just go for it because your stories are important and your words are important, and you should not let anyone tell you otherwise. It doesn't matter what you're writing, and it is important, and you should, if writing is really something that you want to pursue, then you should pursue it and not let anyone discourage you or anything. And writing is an important part of society, and creative expression and literature. It's very important. So
like stories are important. So keep reading, keep writing, keep believing in yourself, and remember that even when times get tough, you know, stories have a power to let you know that you're not alone, and I guess maybe even change the world.
Yeah, so thank you so much for coming. It really means a lot to us, and we're glad we have people's day. And thank you for asking questions and your comments and everything. Y'all are amazing. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll do something like this again at some point, because we I feel like it went pretty well. So thank you everyone for coming. I mean, we really appreciate you.
Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for coming. I had such a fun time doing this event. I had such a fun time putting it together. B, I am so glad that you enjoyed this event. It means a lot to us that you actually came and we weren't just talking into the void.
Yeah, because there's always will anyone actually come? Or are we just gonna be talking to ourselves?
Yes, but people came, so that is amazing. Thank you guys so much. I hope you enjoyed this event. Yeah,
can I do outro music?
Hold on. Wait a sec. Before we leave, I would just put up a banner with something that I want you guys to remember or do.
Okay. Yeah, and we really appreciate y'all. I mean, I've just said this 3 times, which means it's very true.
Yeah.
And yes, and thank you, Isabelle, also for helping organize this and everything.
Yeah. And thank you for agreeing to do this. So this is the banner that I want you guys to know. Read, write, have fun, and let the creative chaos ensue.
Okay, it's not playing.
Yes, well, it looks kind of like a news ticker. Oh! That's it.